Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, and today I'm going to be reviewing a hand I played in the $10,000 buy-in World Series of Poker main event. The blinds are up to 200, 400, you can see right up here in the corner. And a tight aggressive player, under the gun, makes it 1,000 out of his 20,000 chip stack. A tight passive player elects to call in second position, then the low jack seat and hijack seat also call. Folds around to me, I have ace queen of diamonds in the small blind. A pretty good hand with my 25,000 chip stack. I think this is a scenario where you want to call pretty much every time. You have to realize that your opponents are going to be in the pot with a lot of hands that you dominate. But if you 3-bet and your opponents fold, they're usually folding out those hands that you dominate, which is actually a bad result, even out of position. You want to do everything you can to keep your opponents in the pot when they are dominated. And you do that by only calling pre-flop in this scenario. Also notice if you 4-bet and they do stick around, if you 3-bet and they do stick around, they will typically have relatively strong ranges that are difficult to play against. So would you rather play a small pot out of position with what could very easily be the best hand when your opponents are likely somewhat dominated? Or would you rather 3-bet, play a big pot out of position with what is probably roughly flipping versus your opponent's range? And you'll find that keeping the pot small in this scenario leads to significantly better situations. So I'm just going to call and try to flop well. Tight aggressive guy in the big blind calls too. And we do flop well. We get a flush draw plus a gut shot plus an overcard. We have it all. Right here, we could lead. The pot's 6,500. If I bet something like 4,000 and get called or raised, we can easily continue betting on a lot of turns or jam on the flop immediately. But I think checking, looking to see what develops, is often going to be the best scenario, especially in a high-value tournament like the World Series of Poker main events. Unfortunately, it checks through. So no check raising possible on this flop. The turn is the 4 of diamonds, giving me a flush. Pretty interesting spot. I think leading could be an acceptable play. If I got the vibe that someone else liked their hand, I'd probably bet, because you really don't want to be check raising in this spot. You'll find that when you check raise, you make it very easy for your opponents to fold all but the nearly nut hands. So for that reason, I think checking is going to be the right play here. We're checking, often looking to check call, which may seem quite passive. But you have to recognize, again, check raising, especially from out of position, looks like you have the nuts and are trying to get money in the pot. So unless your opponents think you're crazy, which they probably don't, I think check calling is going to lead to slightly better results. But this really is a rough spot. Perhaps betting is just the best play. Just bet turn and then bet river. I could easily see that just being ideal. You really don't want to bet here, though, and lead into your opponents and have them fold out hands like King 10 because they're concerned with the obvious flush, or Ace Jack or something like that. But if you check, people will often take a stab with a king or a jack. So I do call, and then tight aggressive guy calls as well from the big blind. Kind of surprising. I guess tight passive player bets in second position. So the river is the jack of diamonds. Now 4 diamonds on board. If I bet, I have to ask myself, what will my opponents call with? Notice that I have the ace and the queen, and the king and the jack are on the board. So if I bet, I have to expect my opponents to call with the 10 or worse. And will that happen very often? I would guess not. So I think the best play is to check and see what develops. So I do check, and then completely to my surprise, the tight aggressive guy in the big blind elects to go all in for 13,000. Remember, the tight passive player bet on the turn. So when this player effectively donk leads the river, this looks incredibly strong. Which hands would this guy donk lead with on the river? For value, first off. Well, the ace of diamonds, but I have that. Would he really lead the 10 of diamonds? Absolutely not. So this guy has to be running a stone bluff with no blockers, or maybe he has a hand like Jack 10 and decided to turn it into a bluff. But he has to be running a stone bluff in order to make this call. Tight passive player is going to fold. So it gets back to me. We need to win roughly 35% of the time to justify calling in this scenario, or 30% to justify calling. And I really don't think I'm going to. You're never really trying to fold the quote-unquote nut flush because, there are a lot of hands that beat us here. Any full house. But this is one of these rare scenarios where I actually do think I'm going to be against a full house a lot of the time. Almost certainly a hand like pocket sevens or pocket fours. Maybe king jack. Remember, the flop check through. But the guy in the big blind would not be very inclined to lead with a hand like king jack because there were many players yet to act and he could very easily get a check raise in on the flop. Same thing for pocket sevens. He would not bet pocket fours on the flop because that's nothing. So this is a scenario where it's very easy for my opponent to have those hands. Also remember on the turn, he checked, or I checked, and then he checked behind. That is probably what someone would do with a hand like king jack or maybe even pocket fours because the obvious draw came in. So all of this adds up to me thinking my opponent probably has a full house. And I did slow play this hand, and it certainly came back to bite me this time. So I'm going to like to fold. I really don't like folding. I really don't like turning the nuts and having to fold the river. But I think that is going to be the best play in this spot. But yeah, I have no clue what happened in this hand. That's what it amounts to. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comments section below. And let me know what you think. If you enjoy these hands that I make for Poker News, please share them with your friends. That is by far the best way for you to give back to me if you enjoy this content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.